Hello and welcome to Horns Up, and today we're trying out a completely new format. It's called Versus, and what we do on Versus is pit one album against another and somewhere, somehow try and rationally pick one of the two. Peter, ever done that before?
Well, I have, but it's never been by the same band. So, especially since we're both huge fans of the band, I'm quite excited about this.
Yeah, of course. I mean, who, as fans, we've always had these discussions, right? I like this album more, or I like that album more, right? We've always had that. So we're taking that informal survey and we're trying to make it into a bit more formal. But so we're putting a process to it. What that process entails is essentially, first, let's talk about how we're picking the albums that will eventually feature on Versus. First up, they have to have some kind of similarity between them, which means they're either from the same band or they have some significance between the two in terms of creating a new sound or creating a new genre, or maybe being seen as signature sounds or something of that sort. And secondly, and more importantly, they have to have an equal number of tracks. The idea over here, ladies and gentlemen, is to pit each track against the other in the order of appearance, and then talk about the artwork and the overall album experience. So now that the rules, I just did an air quote, but obviously no one can see that. Now that the rules are established, let's have some fun. What we're doing on Versus today is we're upping the irons. We are pitting Powerslave against Seventh Son of a Seventh Son.
Yep, the mighty Iron Maiden is being put to the test.
And of course, we're just the two of us, so definitely there's a chance that it ends up being a hung jury. So, to add some finality to our judging, we decided to rope in another fellow metalhead who's probably one of India's biggest Iron Maiden fans ever. Say hello to Nolan Lewis, frontman for Nama Bengaluru's old school thrash band Kryptos.
Yo, what's up?
You're still wearing your Liverpool t-shirt. I mean,
Yeah,
come on.
It's
Savoring the good times, huh?
yeah, I think it's going to be on myself another 1 week or something.
Okay, before we even begin this, Nolan, you're known as one of India's biggest Iron Maiden fans, and so much so that you've appeared on film and have cemented your place in a documentary about it.
Yeah, embarrassingly so.
Okay, so first up, what does Iron Maiden mean to you?
Oh man, if you guys have 3 hours, I can tell you. To put it briefly, Iron Maiden and Judas Priest are pretty much, my backbone when it comes to music and pretty much everything. And Iron Maiden was the first metal band I ever listened to. And they're the band that actually got me started with metal. They've always been there throughout the years. I mean, I don't think I've ever gone a week or maybe a few days without listening to Iron Maiden. And, they've basically shaped my entire outlook on life. They've introduced me to so many different subjects, the way of writing songs, like what we do with our band. And they've had such a huge influence on me personally, lyrically, musically, everything, the way they do their things. I mean, the way they tour, the way the band works, everything. I mean, I can't really put, how much they mean to me, in such a short span of time. But yeah, I mean, they are pretty much everything that a metal band should be,
Completely agree with you on that, man.
I mean, I think Animesh and I have spent enough time kind of talking about our shared love for Iron Maiden.
Yeah,
on
it's
this
weird
podcast.
that on the podcast, on each and every episode, we've somehow managed to either mention Iron Maiden in it or allude to Iron Maiden in some manner.
Yeah, I mean,
And it's not just us; it's practically every person that we talk to.
yeah.
Apart from Johann Grossman, who ended up getting into metal thanks to Cannibal Corpse, but everybody else notes Iron Maiden as one of their gateway bands.
Yeah, so you can imagine the influence, right? It's insane. They are pretty much everybody's go-to band, the bread and butter of heavy metal.
So, having said that, how excited are you about doing this?
I'm totally excited.
albums.
It's
All
better
right.
than doing phone interviews.
Okay, so a bit of a backgrounder for each album. Powerslave is the fifth studio album by Iron Maiden. It was released on 3rd September 1984, which means it'll be 35 years old in 2019. Seventh Son of a Seventh Son is the seventh studio album and was released on 11th April 1988, which means it turned 30 this year. Two albums out and out. Should we begin this exercise? Both, obviously, the common points, both of them have 8 songs. Both have very weird Egyptian magic themes to them. Of course, there's a lot of difference between the two as well, but I think that's why they're both thematically a bit similar. Would you guys agree on that? Do they make for a decent enough versus pick?
You could pretty much compare any two Iron Maiden albums, but yeah, I get where you're coming from. They both have this mystical theme running through both of them. So it's kind of cool that we picked both of these.
So let's get into it then. First up, the first songs, the opening songs on both the albums. We have Aces High from Powerslave and Moonchild from Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Peter, which one do you pick and why?
Well, for me, I'm a bit biased. I'm going to put that out there because Powerslave was, one of the first Iron Maiden albums I heard. And I can still remember first time kind of putting in that burned CD that I had of Powerslave, listening to Aces High. Man, that feeling, just trying to figuring it out, the bass intro and stuff like that. And it still gives me the chills listening to it. And my pick, no surprise, is Aces High. But just on the basis of, as an opening track, it's strong, that killer chorus that you can sing along to. And that's one thing I really love, and you'll hear me saying it about most Iron Maiden songs, is that no matter what it is, you can sing along to it. It has that sing-along factor to it. Plus the solos on Aces High, man. I mean, it's kind of template in a way if you think about it. It has all those factors that make really a strong Iron Maiden track. So it's Aces High for me.
Okay, Aces High for Peter. What about you, Nolan?
Oh, it's a very difficult decision, but I think Aces High will probably slightly shade it, mainly because when I was growing up, I used to watch the Live After Death video like pretty much every day, and Aces High started out the show, and it it just the way it starts and just the way the song flows, you just want to that is one of the quintessential heavy metal songs. It's everything heavy metal should be. It's got it all. It's got killer riffs. There's killer bass playing in it. Bruce Dickinson's vocals are like off the charts. Killer solo. Everything about it is kick-ass, and it's short. It's sweet. It's to the point. And it's if you ask me, it's probably it's the perfect concert opener, But on the other hand, Moonchild kind of, what I love about Moonchild is because it's so dark, and the lyrics are so mystical and occultish, and that played a big role in influencing the way I write lyrics and stuff like that. And I've always been fascinated with the darker side of things. And yeah, Moonchild, when I first heard Seventh Son, and it starts off with 7 deadly sins, 7 ways to win, all that stuff. And it immediately drew me in, and as the song progresses, it just gets darker and darker, and there's a killer solo, and I think Adrian Smith plays that. It's an absolutely mind-bending solo. And I don't know, there's just something so I don't know how to say it. It's almost like they tapped into this weird dimension that's not exactly on this planet. It's like they're looking into a crystal ball, and they like all dip their hands in it and dabble in some sort of mumbo jumbo and stuff and come up with this. But yeah, it's a very close call, but I'll just out of nostalgia value, I'll have to go with Aces High.
Okay, I actually go with Moonchild. It is, and hear me out on this. So both of you raised very valid points, right? about Aces High having killer riffs, Aces High being a tight, small, crisp song, Aces High having brilliant Bruce performance, brilliant solos. Moonchild has all of that, and Moonchild has even more variety than Aces High does. And Moonchild isn't as overexposed as Aces High is, and that's me like being that's me being absolutely like finicky about it. But Moonchild to me is the better song of the two. I mean, okay, let me put another filter to this. Aces High is a stereotypical Steve Harris song. It is penned by Steve Harris, and it's very evident that it's a Steve Harris song. Moonchild is not a Steve Harris song. It's written by Bruce Dickinson and Adrian Smith, and it shows.
I completely see where you're coming from, because if you kind of look at it and if you look through their discography, when you look at few of these songs and you kind of analyze them, you can kind of tell the pattern.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But
anyways, so we're off to a pretty good start here. I'm going with Moonchild. Both of you are going with Aces High.
But I actually agree with you. I mean, it's of course it's a super close call for me too, because Moonchild is Moonchild, and but it's just really fine margins. It's like you can split it with a hair probably.
Yeah, actually, that's right. You can actually split it with a hair.
Okay.
Completely. Okay, so moving on. Track number 2's on both. You have 2 Minutes to Midnight from Powerslave versus Infinite Dreams from Seventh Son. Nolan, you want to take the first shot?
Yeah, I mean, this is Infinite Dreams by a mile. I mean,
I love you.
Infinite Dreams is one of the best. I mean, it's one of the best metal songs ever written. I mean, that the lyrics, the way the song flows, the solo, the twin harmonies are. I mean, you know, if if I could jizz on the screen right now, I would. It's just, I mean, that song is absolutely perfect. I can't find a single flaw in that song whatsoever. It's exactly how you write it. You know, a heavy metal song with dynamics, atmosphere, everything. It's a masterclass in songwriting, if you ask me. 2 Minutes to Midnight, of course, super great song, great lyrics. It's like it's your typical heavy metal song, quick, short, to the point. And yeah, it's also one of my favorite Iron Maiden songs, because that's one of the first few. I mean, that was, considering I grew up with Live After Death, that was right after Aces High and stuff. So, but Infinite Dreams it's an absolute masterpiece. I don't think there are many songs in Iron Maiden's discography that can touch, the flawlessness of that song.
What about you, Peter? I gave my pick away. Definitely, I'm going with Infinite Dreams too.
So I think I'm going to be in the minority there. For me, it's again 2 Minutes to Midnight. And I guess for me, the way I look at it also is just because I've seen them twice live, and, surprisingly, we picked these two albums because when we saw them on the last tour, they did both, or at least the last time I saw them, they did both the setlist combined of both these albums. And yeah, man, watching 2 Minutes to Midnight live, it's something else. I mean, I still remember, like, imagine tens of thousands of people just screaming out those lyrics.
Yeah, that's actually a bummer. I wish the band would do Infinite Dreams live a lot more. But I can understand why they don't choose to, because that song isn't an easy song to play.
Yeah. On the Made in England, the concert in that one.
Yeah.
And it's a really tough song to sing as well.
Yeah. Actually, wait, a question here. With the three guitarists, have they ever attempted Infinite Dreams? No, right?
I don't think there should be three guitars anyway.
That's a whole different debate, man. That's a whole different debate. Okay, no, but definitely Infinite Dreams. As a bass player, I love what Steve Harris is doing on the bass in this. There's so much of variation going on. It really brings his forte and what he does right up there in the mix and even on. And just everywhere. And following Moonchild and the way Moonchild just segues directly into Infinite Dreams, it's a brilliant 1 and 2 itself. They have to be treated as a combo in my book. You can't have one without the other. But yeah, Infinite Dreams for me, which then moves us on to tracks number 3, which are Lost for Words, Big Aura, and versus Can I Play with Madness.
I think you should take this one, Animesh.
Okay. So you can see the pattern here, right? I'm definitely biased towards Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. But
Yes.
on this one, I will end up picking Can I Play with... No, yeah, I will have to pick Can I Play with Madness, only because Lost for Words, even though it's an instrumental, it isn't that punchy of a complete song because it is an instrumental. I'll compare it to the previous Maiden instrumentals. So previously to this, Maiden had recorded Transylvania. That was an instrumental, right, from Iron Maiden. And that as an instrumental works brilliantly, right?
Yeah.
Because there is no need of... You can't even picture a vocal pattern going over it. However, Lost for Words, to me, the song is pretty formulaic in structure, and you can immediately think of what kind of a vocal line will go over it, and it begs me to ask, why wasn't a vocal line attempted? Or if it was attempted, then why didn't we ever get to hear it, or something of that sort? Can I Play with Madness, on the other hand, is one of Maiden's classics. It's one of the most popular songs, and really it's not that... what am I trying to say here? Essentially, it is pretty flawless, unless you were to really nitty-pick it, which I won't, considering it's going up against Lost for Words, which to me isn't a perfect song. So yeah, for me, definitely Can I Play with Madness. What about you, Pete?
Man, I still remember as a kid listening to Lost for Words and just kind of wondering, like, wait, is this the same band? What happened? What happened to their vocalist? Kind of thing. But yeah, man, I mean, when you pit both tracks against each other, it's a no-brainer for me, man. Can I Play with Madness? Classic Maiden track. I mean, it's one of those tracks I'm pretty sure anyone can, if you have to introduce Iron Maiden to, you definitely have these as one of the top 5 tracks at least, or definitely. So yeah, man, for me, Can I Play with Madness? Of course.
Nolan, beg to differ.
No, actually, I'm going with Can I Play with Madness as well. But the thing is, I like Lost for Words. I mean, I think it's a pretty good instrumental. Of course, it's not the best. That honor goes to Genghis Khan from Killers, which is unfuckable. So, but the thing is, on Powerslave, I think Powerslave is actually Steve Harris's best. That it's the entire album has some of his best bass playing. I think it has his best bass playing among all of Maiden's discography, even though I prefer Seventh Son, and even though Powerslave wasn't really in my top 5 Maiden albums, but I still prefer Seventh Son over Powerslave overall. But as far as bass playing goes, I think Powerslave tops them all, and you can hear it in Lost for Words especially, and in the next few tracks as well. But this is on this album, Steve Harris basically took center stage, and on Lost for Words you can actually see him. I mean, he basically runs the entire show. It's all him. Even in the subsequent songs, when the vocals take a backseat and it's just instrumental sections, he's almost like a lead guitarist, for playing the bass. But yeah, it's a good song. Unfortunately it's the weakest on Powerslave. But having said that, I think Can I Play with Madness is the weakest song on Seventh Son. But I love Can I Play with Madness. It's a killer song. It was the first Iron Maiden video I ever watched. When I think I was 10 years old, and that video was so killer. This guy going down into that crypt, and he meets that old dude and all that stuff. It's so cool. And so yeah, I have to go with Can I Play with Madness for sure.
All right, so that's a clean sweep for Can I Play with Madness, which moves us onto song numbers 4, Flash of the Blade versus The Evil That Men Do.
I think Nolan should take this one.
Man, here there's no contest actually. I mean, Flash of the Blade, great song, but come on, Evil That Men Do is absolute stone cold classic. I mean, I don't think. I mean, I don't even think Iron Maiden can write a better song than that. That song has, to me, that song has everything. I mean, if I could ever write if you asked me to choose a metal song I could write, I would probably pick that one. Among a few others. And that was actually the song that when they came down to India the first time, that was the song that got me into tears the first time. When that yeah, opening melody kicked in, I just started bawling like a baby. and and there was a guy next to me. He's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Just fuck off, man."
And I'm pretty sure, man. I mean, the first time Maiden came down,
Yeah.
30 odd thousand, I'm pretty sure a lot of people got wet-eyed, man, listening.
I can't believe you had that reaction, because that's the same reaction I had too. The evil that men do. I don't know. That was the first Maiden video that I saw, because that was on part of Live in Donington, and I had that VCD with me, so I ended up watching the evil that men do. That live performance was killer, and it's just there's something so magical about the tune, the chorus, the solo, everything. It's the perfect metal song. I think it's by far my favorite Maiden tune from this era. Definitely, The Evil That Men Do wins it for me. Flash of the Blade, mm, it's okay. I mean, it's an average Maiden song, but having said that, an average Maiden song is still better than most metal songs there are. So yeah, clear winner for me in this one. The Evil That Men Do.
I'm just surprised you're looking at me or kind of waiting for me, man. Come on. Evil That Men Do, of course. It's a clean sweep. Flash of the Blade, yeah. And that's the thing. A lot of, I've realized when we're doing these retrospects in there, is that a lot of times the first impression that you have of an album or a song, it sticks to you. But when you look back and you kind of really wonder, and then again, when you compare songs like these, come on, dude, Evil That Men Do, I'm pretty sure every Indian band probably still tries to figure out how the hell can I sound that good.
Yeah. It's one of the tests if you are ever wanting to become an Iron Maiden cover band. How well you can pull that song off.
Yeah.
Okay, so that one's a clean sweep too. Let's move on to track number 5. It's actually a duel now. The Duelists, very bad pun, but the Duelists versus Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Nolan, go first.
Okay, this is going to be weird. I mean, not weird. I mean, Seventh Son, clear favorite. I mean, that's probably. I mean, that song is Iron Maiden at their darkest best. I mean, it's just incredible. I remember as a kid listening to that song, going to school, and everyone was so happy and smiling and blah blah and all that. It was sunny outside, and I would listen to the song and I would just be like, "Fuck! I hope I hope the earth swallows you guys up and stuff." and and I mean, it's such an epic song. The lyrics are so, I don't know, just it's so mystical and so dark. It just draws me in every single time. And the instrumental section after the vocals are done is just incredible. It's almost like you're running through a maze in these catacombs beneath the earth, and these hooded figures are after you and all that stuff. I can't even begin to tell you the amount of the images it put into my head. When I was a kid, it pretty much not kickstarted, but it pretty much solidified my love for all these creepy crawly things, and on the darker side of life, basically. But and of course, yeah, I prefer any day to the Duelists. But having said that, the Duelists, in my opinion, is actually one of Iron Maiden's most underrated songs. It's the bass playing on this particular song is off the charts. If you listen to the bass playing very closely, it's one of Steve Harris's finest performances. I mean, the bass playing is absolutely nuts on this song. The bass playing, the harmonies, the way the song ebbs and flows, and it's just a phenomenal song. Unfortunately, most people don't know about it. They don't listen to it often. They don't even talk about it. But there's a mid section, I think, right after the second verse.
Yeah, That solo section, that entire instrumental section.
Insane. It's incredible. It's a masterclass in heavy metal songwriting. If you just, I can't even tell you how many times I've listened to that, and I've just been amazed at how they just play the same thing over and over again, but they just keep adding these small variations, and everything just keeps sounding different. It's like a cascade. It's like a waterfall of heavy metal godliness.
Yeah, completely agree with you on that.
But yeah, overall, Seventh Son definitely. So it's a masterpiece of a song.
Yeah, for me, I'm just going to add on to what you say, because the Seventh Son just manages to nudge away from the duelists. Now here's the cool thing. Both of these are songs that are written by Steve Harris. But why Seventh Son wins is because the duelists sounds like previous songs or previous song structures that Steve Harris has written before. Seventh Son still manages to take it up by a notch, which is the only reason why, if you pit the two, Seventh Son ends up winning by that very hair-thin margin. But you're completely right, man. That mid-section from the duelists, I would love to see that live. It has so much energy. It's perfect. It's flawless.
Yeah.
Beautiful song, but unfortunately, it's pitted against Seventh Son. And yeah, between the two, I would have to pick Seventh Son. But that's only because we have this strict format about it.
Yeah. For me, it's the same, man. And I'm wondering how much more I can add to what both of you have done. Because you guys have kind of... I'm just seeing both of you as Steve Harris fanboys at this point. But yeah, man, I mean, like, as somebody whose first Maiden album was Powerslave, when I'm listening back to it, and when you pit again, for me, it was no competition in a way also, because Seventh Son is far darker. And again, this is maybe me 20 years later kind of listening to the album and what my preferences are now. But yeah, Seventh Son for me, man.
All right, cool. So another clean sweep. That's 3 clean sweeps in a row for Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Let's see if the next one manages to change that. We have Back in the Village versus The Prophecy. Peter, begin.
Back in the Village for me, man.
Okay, and why is that?
Again, this is one of the things where I just feel nostalgia's sake, listening back to the album again also just brought back all of that. And yeah, I don't know how else, because go on, take it.
And he's reacting because I'm tallying the scores here, and I just put Back in the Village tick mark for me too. There's again one of Maiden's most deepest cuts, because it's probably one of the few songs in which Maiden don't sound like Maiden. That opening riff is, oh my god, that's not Maiden. That's like more, I don't know. But as a kid, when I was trying to learn or fine tune my guitar playing skills and failing horribly at that, this was one of the riffs that I tried to play, and after trying it maybe once or twice, decided to wholly give up because I just couldn't play it. And to date, I've never had the courage or the balls in me to go out and start trying to play that riff again. And then you realize that the entire song, or most of the guitar riffs in that song, are that structured. It's not a typical Maiden gallop at all.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, and if you had to hear it as a single without listening it in the album, would you consider it a Maiden track?
Only because of the vocals and eventually the bass and stuff on it. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why Back in the Village scores over The Prophecy for me. What about you, Nolan?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same with me actually. Back in the Village is actually one of my favorite Maiden songs because, like you said, it's different. It's not your typical Maiden song, but also because I kind of know where they're coming from, because I know they are big fans of 70s bands like The Who and UFO and all these bands, Free, and and you can actually hear the influence in the song. It's kind of like, it's almost like a Who riff sped up 10 times,
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? It's sped up 10 times. Have you tried playing this one?
It's really fucking tough, man. I can't even play I can't even play an A chord properly. But yeah, I love that song. It's super energetic. It always gets me, really pumped up. Having said that, the Prophecy is a phenomenal song. Really, again, really underrated, really underappreciated song. Great, amazing lyrics actually, and it's got a killer vibe to it. The Prophecy has this very it's like a Dante's Inferno kind of vibe to it. Whenever I listen to it, I'm always imagining, I'm kind of like moving through these nether worlds and looking at people really roasting in McDonald's leftover oil or something.
But I should add this to what you're saying. That was one of the cool parts I feel about listening to music like this without, say, the internet or things like that. You were so immersed in these songs, and other than watching it on MTV or the music video that they put out, it was all up to your imagination. And that was one of the coolest parts, is that you could keep kind of imagining. And I'm sure if three of us had to listen to one of the songs and kind of share what we imagined, it would have been completely different.
But I have to add one thing with the Prophecy, the acoustic bit right at the end. It is just I mean it's so beautiful. I can't even put it into words. The way the song ends, it's got those twin acoustic-y bits. It's just gorgeous. But unfortunately, Back in the Village has to do it for me. It just nudges it actually.
Cool. So, yay, clean sweep for Powerslave on this one, which then brings us on to, I'm guessing this one will be differentiated opinions. Powerslave versus the Clairvoyant. Nolan, let's begin with you.
This is really tough. I mean, I like both songs, but again, for me, I'll have to go with Powerslave. Powerslave is, again, it's so dark, it's so mystical, it's everything I love about Iron Maiden. It's the darker side of Iron Maiden. It's of course the Clairvoyant is as dark as Powerslave, you could say, but Powerslave is just epic. It's huge. It's a massive song. That midsection where it all slows down and the solo is to absolutely die for. And I absolutely love the lyrics because it's got that whole Egyptian occult theme to it and stuff. It had a big influence on me personally, that particular song. And the Clairvoyant, also a super great song. Again, very occult, mystical lyrics and all that stuff. Great solo as well. But overall, I have to go with Powerslave. It's just it's a beast of a song. It's one of the best metal songs ever written, in my opinion.
I agree with you, and here's my take on this. I wish Powerslave was on Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. I wish Powerslave and Clairvoyant could swap positions. I think they would work so much more better in either album.
I totally agree with you on that.
What about you, Peter?
Man, Powerslave for me. I mean, Nolan talked about the moment where he heard the evil man that men do. That's the exact moment I had when I heard Iron Maiden play Powerslave, dude. I was like, and especially the chorus part, I was like screaming around. People around me were like, who the hell does this guy think he is? But I didn't care. Like the entire time that they played that song, I was completely one with the band, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, completely agree with you on that.
Man. And especially the part, because again, I don't know how many times I've repeated this, but as a 12, 13-year-old, I think hearing Powerslave for the first time, it just completely transforms you. And yeah, man, watching them play that live, it was something else completely.
Cool. So that's 2 sweeps in a row for Powerslave, which leaves us with the last song on either album, track number 8, The Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner versus Only the Good Die Young. Let me begin with this. I'm not even going to attempt at doing any kind of comparison over here. I'm going with Rhyme, end of story. Best epic, one of the best epics Maiden's ever written. the second longest song in their discography, and each and every second of it is excellent. Yeah, there's no comparison with Only the Good Die Young here. Sorry.
I'm just gonna say go with Animesh, dude. I think the first time I heard it, I had to like re-listen to it and check if there was something wrong with that burn CD, and I was like, whoa, this is the same band. And one of the things, even though it's their second longest song, it just managed to capture your attention. I mean, of course, I was only listening to CD. I was not distracted by anything, and it just has you hooked. And that was one of the things I think where I fell in love with Iron Maiden. It's just the whole storytelling, the whole thing about it. Because again, I probably have seen the pictures and stuff like that. So you're like, wait, it's these guys who are singing about stuff like this. Okay, what is this story? What is this whole thing?
Yeah, it introduces literature to us.
Yeah.
I mean, hats off to Maiden. They are one of the only few musical acts that have led me to discover and read about so many other new topics.
Yeah.
And it's all thanks to beautiful songs like Rime of the Ancient Mariner, which is based off a poem.
Yeah.
Nolan, what are your thoughts?
I'm actually in the extreme minority here.
Okay.
I mean, of course, Rime of the Ancient Mariner is one of the greatest epic songs ever. One of the greatest epic metal songs ever written. Flawless song, everything. I mean, of course, it is what it is. It's Rime of the Ancient Mariner. You can't fault it. But for me personally, Only the Good Die Young is actually one of my all-time favorite Maiden songs. It's to me, it's one of the most compelling. It's one of the most. I don't know how to say it. It makes me feel differently. It invokes a unique feeling in me. I don't even know how to explain it. The lyrics are so. They're so. They got under my skin. They still get under my skin. It's like the song starts off with these pretty melodies, and it has a very slightly upbeat, melancholy twin harmony running through the song, but the verses are really dark, and the lyrics are almost like Dickinson's kind of taunting you. And I especially love the line at the end where he says, "Have a good sin." I mean, that line to me, when the way he says it, and as a teenager and you listen to the stuff, you're just like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna have a good sin.
So wait. I'm not being able to understand which of the two you're picking.
So I'm going with Only the Good Die Young, because just for the fact that it I don't know, it just makes me feel a way that other Maiden songs don't make me feel. It's to me, it's unique. It makes me feel differently compared to everything else. Yeah, I can't really explain it.
Okay, cool. So that's so far the songs. Let's just talk about the artwork. Between the two, which artwork would you prefer and why?
That's a no-brainer for me.
Which one is it?
Powerslave by a mile. I mean, Powerslave is it's probably the best Maiden artwork in the entire discography. The detailing, the way it looks, I mean, it's just killer. It's just it's incredible. You can stare at. I mean, I've stared at that cover for like, I don't think I've read books that long. I stayed up all night just looking at the cover, and like I used to have Powerslave on a tape, and of course it was the sleeve was so tiny. I actually had to get a magnifying glass and go into all these small details. I was like, wow, this is so cool.
So here's some interesting fact I found online while doing research about the artwork, because of course for me also it's Powerslave that I prefer, and considering I went to a Catholic boys' school, I couldn't really have the Seventh Son of a Seventh Son CD cover around.
Why not?
Because you had like a guy holding his guts.
Yeah, but come on, it's not like a Cannibal Corpse artwork or something of that sort.
But this is me before listening to Cannibal Corpse, so of course.
Okay, cool. We'll give it to you.
So the cool fact I found that on the cover, there are phrases like bollocks, Indiana Jones was here 1941, what a load of crap, what? No Guinness? And this is all written in hieroglyphics. Of course, yeah, there's also a drawing of Mickey Mouse. And I found that fucking hilarious because here, you think of when we're discussing how like evil and mystical and stuff like that, but here these guys are taking a piss on everyone with their artwork. And
Yeah. No, but yeah, I agree with both of you on this. The Powerslave artwork, yeah, that's iconic. That is iconic. That's what's plastered on. That's what ended up being the inspiration for Live After Death and so many other Maiden tours and Maiden merchandise.
Yeah.
Then just fits that whole Egyptian vibe that Maiden somehow does tend to get known for. Yeah, so completely on the artwork, you just get lost in the Powerslave artwork, which unfortunately the Seventh Son artwork doesn't really do. Okay, so that's album artwork. Anything else you want to add in this, Nolan?
Yeah, actually, the Seventh Son artwork, I still think it's great. I mean, it's great because it's so minimalistic. But if you actually take the entire artwork, the front and the back, and you spread it out, then it looks it looks a lot better than just the front image.
Correct.
I think you
Yeah.
like with all the weird mountainous things and all that stuff. It's just it's like from another dimension almost.
Okay, so I'm just going to quickly tally up our numbers at the moment, okay? Because after all, this is trying to be a slightly more formalistic process. If you were to go by songs alone, weirdly enough, Powerslave has 4 wins and Seventh Son has 4 wins. So that's a hung jury. However, if you look at the number of yeses each one of us has given, then Seventh Son manages to score ahead because it has 13 yeses as opposed to Powerslave's 11 yeses. Okay, so that's like a hung jury over there. If you bring in the artwork along with it, then the entire thing, like obviously it topples to Powerslave because now Powerslave has 5 versus Seventh Son's 4. And that doesn't sit well with me because Seventh Son is clearly a better album.
But that's how these things go.
Okay. So let me pull out a wild joker from my hat. Let's talk about overall album experience.
Then I'm just alluding to what I said earlier. And I think this happened to me on the Panthera episode also, where we did the retrospective. When I overall listened to Powerslave, as much as I love the album being, it's the first full Iron Maiden album I heard and stuff like that, there's a reason why a few of the songs, or quite a few of the songs, I preferred Seventh Son to a Seventh Son. So yeah, Seventh Son over Seventh Son, yeah. So yeah, man, overall album, I go with Seventh Son, man.
You go with Seventh Son?
Yeah.
Okay. For me, it's a very simple test. My test to pick which album I prefer always goes back to how many times do I end up listening to that entire album without skipping any songs. And I've heard Seventh Son numerous times more than I've heard Powerslave in entirety without skipping any of the tracks. For me, it's Seventh Son is the better album musically, even though the artwork may not be that immersive. But yeah, it's completely Seventh Son. It's also the album that kind of templates what future Maiden becomes, because now you have Maiden doing so many epic songs as such, and all of them have their own imagery and their own storytelling attached to it, which I think Maiden kind of got hooked on to with Seventh Son, which was the first ever concept album, or if you can call it that, for Maiden. So yeah, and also they managed to bring in keyboards over there, and the entire band just definitely is trying to break away and go beyond what they've done, and that's clearly shown on the album. And I think that's something that the band realized that they can do with it, and hence it's basically Seventh Son has gone on to show Iron Maiden what the future held for them, which is why for me Seventh Son is the better overall album.
Yeah, it's the same for me. I mean, I've listened to Seventh Son way more times than Powerslave. And Powerslave, great album, of course, but like you said, it's somewhere in the middle where Lost for Words and Flash of the Blade and so on. So there's like a dip, But Seventh Son doesn't really have this dip in the middle. It just flows from start to end. It's like drinking a fine whiskey, It just flows. And personally speaking, Seventh Son is the darker album. It's more interesting. It's the themes, the songwriting, the epicness of the entire album. It just appeals to me a lot more. It hits all the right buttons, and especially when I was growing up, and I was getting really into uh, reading about a lot of the darker side of stuff. All these all these occult books and all this stuff, and Seventh Son was the soundtrack to all that, and one thing about Seventh Son, it always transported me to another place, no matter where I listen to it. If I listen to it in a bus or in a car or no matter where, I'd put my Walkman on and man, it would just take me away. Powerslave, on the other hand, it had like these, like Aces High, 2 Minutes to Midnight, Back in the Village. These are more, I would say, they're rock and roll tracks. It's kind of like you're going out drinking with your friends, and you're like, oh yeah, let's have a good time. Let's put on these songs and all that stuff. But Seventh Son, it's more like it's a very personal experience. It's an intimate experience. It's almost like you're going to visit this shaman or this clairvoyant, if you will. And you're having a one-on-one session with this person, and he or she reveals all these things about your past and your future and all these, it's just so cool, the entire thing, the atmosphere it creates and stuff. So yeah, Seventh Son, definitely.
If you were to tally numbers, we have a hung jury again, but it's pretty clear that it's Seventh Son that's the better album. Right? Can we all agree on that, or should we just take the easy cop out, which is, oh no, it's all good music, it's great music at the end of the day?
Yeah, Seventh Son is a better album.
Yeah, Seventh Son is a better album.
Yeah, this is the cool part about kind of getting into the bands that you really enjoy.
It's strange that but overall, I think worldwide, more people prefer Powerslave.
I think that's because Powerslave, as you rightly said, Powerslave is more accessible. It's more of a party album than Seventh Son is. Seventh Son requires effort. It requires you to pay attention to it a lot more.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Can I Play With Madness is the only track on Seventh Son which you could consider a drinking song, something you could probably sing along to with your friends and blah, blah. But the rest of it is kind of, it's like you sit around and you're like, who's playing the spooky music, man? Getting a little uncomfortable.
All right. So there you have it. The first ever versus on Horns Up, and it ended up being pretty decisive.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's only because we pulled out the wild joker at the end about album experience. But at the end of it, Seventh Son emerging the better album when compared to Powerslave. So, Nolan, the big question is, when are we doing the next Iron Maiden versus, and which album should we do?
You tell me, I'm up for anything.
Thank you so much, Nolan, for taking time out. It's for all of you who don't know, we're recording this at the ungodly hour of midnight.
Yeah.
We've already passed 2 minutes to midnight. It's well past midnight now. But oh no, yeah, of course, sorry. Hey, are we expecting something big from Kryptos soon?
I think we had to sneak that question in, Nolan.
Our album's coming out in June 21st, so it's not going to be as good as Seventh Son, so don't worry.
No, man, but we'd love to have you on and chat about the album and what this is album number 4, right?
Yeah, but I'd rather talk about Iron Maiden.
Album number 5, sorry.
Before the Germans steal you for their annual tour.
Yep, album number 5. This is our Powerslave.
Which means album number 7 is not far away. All right. So, Nolan, where can people get in touch with you if they ever feel like getting in touch with you? Twitter, Instagram, something of that sort?
Yeah, anyway, Facebook, Instagram, wherever possible. Mine, I think my number's on the net anyway because all sorts of weirdos keep calling me.
What's your Twitter handle?
I'm not on Twitter actually. On Instagram, I'm Starbreaker696. Don't ask.
And Peter, you're obviously.
I'm Trend Crusher on most of my social media profiles.
And I'm at Asmoani only on Twitter. You can reach out to Hornsup on Twitter at HornsUpPod. Once again, Nolan, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, man. Thanks a lot.
And Horns up.
Cheers. It was awesome.